Wow. Guys, we got to talk. We're still on this topic, the raging debate about the hiring of Lori Lightfoot in the comments section. This is interesting, and I just want to get more feedback. And before we even dive into this, let me preface this talk with this disclaimer and trigger warning. It's okay to disagree, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm only giving my opinion about what I'm about to say, and it's okay. I don't mind people disagreeing, okay? So that being said, as they always say, let's move forward and just talk about this with no frills, no extra stuff, no extra video evidence, none of that. Let's just focus on this conversation that I pinned to the top of the video talking about whether or not it was a waste of money to hire Lori Lightfoot. Before I made the video, I had all my notes ready for the points that I wanted to make, and I left out one of the biggest points. Let me give you that point, and then we're going to talk about this conversation here. The biggest point that I left out was that Lori Lightfoot was hired to be the attorney. And of course, Tiffany Henyard vetoed the board's action. To get around the veto, the board, under the direction of Jason House, decided to call it the hiring of an investigator to get around the veto, which the veto stated, I'm vetoing you hiring an attorney, a village attorney. Now, at that point, we're thinking, well, they've already got a village attorney. But then we find out after the Delgado folks backed out, they exited from the back door from representing Dolton and Tiffany Henyard. Someone dug up the actual agreement. I don't remember who it was. But in the agreement, there was something that was very surprising. We find out that Delgado never agreed to represent the village. In other words, the residents. The agreement was between Delgado and Tiffany Henyard and the Goon administration. So all this time, she's been sitting up there with Delgado at her side as her personal attorney, but charging the residents. So that was pretty sad. So she's wasting residents' money so this attorney can sit there and aid and abet her illegal activity, which means they never had a village attorney from day one. That's a shock. So when the board made the move to hire Lori Lightfoot, she vetoed it because she knew that the position was open. She realized that while we did not. And that's why they called her an investigator. And I think we've already squashed all of the rebuttals. Of course, you would not hire an investigator at $400 an hour. Someone said in the comments once, why don't you just hire a private investigator at $50 an hour? Well, they weren't really hiring her as an investigator. They're hiring her as an attorney, and because of her experience and background as a federal prosecutor. Which takes us to this. I pinned this comment, and it's from Renee Clements. And the reason why I pinned this comment is because Renee is a resident. So in the beginning, when I first was told that Lori Lightfoot was brought on, when Edward Steve told, when the news came out, I called Ed Steve on the phone. I was like, Ed, what are you guys doing? Lori Lightfoot? Have they lost their minds? And then Ed gave me the reasoning, and he said that they met with Lori Lightfoot and grilled her with tons of questions before they made the decision. And then he told me why. So I understood a little bit more, and I still disagreed. But the more I dug into it, the more I can understand why they made the move. Then you go on to looking at the reaction by the residents in the meeting. You didn't have a single person in the building that came forward and said, we don't want this. It was greeted with an ovation. They broke out in cheers and claps. This is what gave them the confidence. So me sitting here in Missouri, I can't criticize. Everybody around the world who wants to criticize the move, they don't live in Dolton. They're not dealing with this monster of a devil sitting in the seat of the position of mayor. So I penned this comment, and she said that while at the meeting, they asked the residents if the hiring was okay, and they wanted to hire her as counsel. Do you see that? That's coming from a resident, but Delgado threatened to block it. All right? Because Odelson was already counsel. Now, I don't know the details of Odelson, and if there was a contract that Odelson was representing the village, but I do know for a fact that Delgado was not, and she was lying and saying that he was. So they changed that title to investigator. That's coming from the horse's mouth. Not to say that Renee is a horse, but you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so she also went on to say that we were told if we didn't agree, they would not hire her. But the board listened to the residents, and the residents ultimately made the decision. So here we have a response by new account 5891. Saying, why was she even suggested for this job? That's absurd to me. I mean, just my opinion. No offense to you, new account 5891. I'm trying to treat you as a human being, even though you don't have your name on here and it's just new account 5891. Sure, the resident said, okay, but why did the board bring this option to them when a lot cheaper they could have simply hired a private investigator? We've squashed that. We've already squashed that. Or at least someone who did not already have bad tied to the general area. That was as a mayor. You have to side eye the person or people who even brought this to Lori Lightfoot idea to the residents. Beware. I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that. I'm going to disagree with it because you cannot lump together Lori Lightfoot's terrible tenure as a mayor with her experience as a federal prosecutor. Watch the prior video if you want to hear all of the details about her as a prosecutor. So Renee came back and spoke to this. And one big point that she made was this $900,000 invoice by Delgado. Okay? And another great point that she made was it takes away Tiffany using the race card. How many times have we seen Tiffany scream, "Y'all black, y'all black, y'all beating and attacking on black single mother, female, blah, 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 blah." Oh gosh, I can't even repeat it right. This takes away the excuse. Now, we live in an age of DEI and wokeness for what it's worth. And we know that this has bought her a lot of time. Do you think that they could bring somebody who's a Caucasian or a male and have any effect on Tiffany Henyard while she's screaming, "Y'all black, I'm a single black woman"? Do you really think? So you're questioning why would they even think of her in the first place? Okay, well, come up with another name of a black female attorney, former federal prosecutor with a good track record for putting people in jail. Does anybody just pop into mind? Okay, so she answers. That was a good answer. And then new account 5891 comes back and says, I understand that, which I don't think he or she does. But I'm questioning how Lori came into the picture to begin with. It's not like the citizens of Dolton requested her. They have leadership. That's why the Board of Trustees is there. They don't have to go out and dig through and find an attorney because that's why they elected the trustees to do that job. So who on the board requested her? Plus, any fact finder is a fact finder because facts are facts. We've already squashed that. That's not why she was hired. He goes on to say, Lori does not make a fact any more true than another investigator. We squashed that. Wasn't hired as an investigator, but now here's the kicker. This is why I am questioning who recommended her and why. should we have, or should she be even thought about to begin with? How could it be any more obvious? Now, you can read the response that I gave, but I'll just say it again. Is there any name of a black female attorney who has experience as a federal prosecutor, who has put people in jail, who has handled corruption, who even has a person that they can name on their resume who was a black politician that they still got indicted, convicted, and thrown into jail? Go ahead, I'll wait. Still waiting. Nothing pops to mind? No one comes to mind right off the top of your head? What more could you ask for than someone, okay, sure, she was a Democrat or is a Democrat and was the mayor, but this Democrat put away a prominent black Democrat politician. So what does that prove? It proves that she's willing to put a criminal away, even though they are within the same party. So you want to ask me why they even thought of her in the first place? I don't know, my guy or my girl, whatever you are, new account 5891. It just seems hideously obvious to me. And I'm surprised that people are still yammering on about this, questioning the appointment of Lori Lightfoot and not taking into consideration that she was a federal prosecutor and knows how the FBI works. So you're telling me that in her experience as a U.S. attorney, working in the U.S. Attorney's office, that it's no advantage knowing how an FBI operation takes place. And then people say, well, the FBI is 98% successful. They didn't need her. Okay, so if they're so successful in 98%, why isn't this wrapped up and why isn't Tiffany in jail? Tiffany should have been in jail 2 years ago. This should have been shut down at the moment of the recall. In fact, it should have been shut down before that. So would you like to provide your reasoning? Now that you state, well, the FBI is so efficient and so great, why is this vagabond, ragamuffin, hood rat mayor still stealing and wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars a month? How many months are they supposed to wait on the FBI? How much money has she wasted and driven them into a deficit just in the last 2 years? If I'm not mistaken, from watching the boardroom videos, the town hall meetings, I believe she has run that deficit from 1.7 million to 8 million just in 2 years. All that time, the FBI could have brought this to a close because they're so good. Now, I'm not cutting on the FBI. You saw my reasoning in the video. There is a gaggle of counties and a gaggle of cases that the FBI has to handle. Just because they have a 98% success rate at putting people in jail doesn't mean that they have a 98% success rate of handling the problem overnight. So that kind of takes away that whole argument. And then cue Lori Lightfoot, who understands the process and the system. Don't you think with Lori Lightfoot on the job, it would raise the sense of urgency a little bit with the FBI? I think it did. We see the action that's going on right now, and I know a lot of you are saying, well, it's a coincidence. So I guess that we'll have to agree to disagree, and it's okay. I'm not trying to start any fights or arguments, and I promise you, if you say something ugly and nasty in the comments, I won't get triggered. If you want to say something ugly about the residents or me, go ahead. I will behave myself and I'll turn the other cheek or just turn a deaf ear to it and let you express your feelings. But I will stand up for Jason House on this one. I will stand up for Renee Clements. Shout out to you, Renee. I'll stand behind her on this one, okay? And then we'll just agree to disagree and we'll move on. And all in all, we're not there, us outsiders. Remember that. You're not there suffering from the damage that's being done from a first-hand basis, okay? We're fine as armchair quarterbacks, and we can insult and question all of the decisions that they're making, but we're not there. I still, no matter what, good decisions or bad decisions, I wish the best for the people of Dolton, because you're just a stone's throw away from where I grew up. And this area is near and dear to my heart. Okay? So I'm going to pray for them and wish them the best. Maybe we can lay this argument to rest. I'm not going to do any more videos on this topic because I think we can stick a fork in it. I've got lots of new stuff coming your way, and a very important video where I'm going to implicate the leadership within the state based on the new evidence that we see took place on the part of the Dolton Police Department. This is getting serious. It's getting disgusting, and now we have real credible threats. This is Carlton. I'm out.